Hey D3, my name is Sukion Beck, and today I'm here because we at POP have a vision where people aren't afraid to reach out and meet new people, and a vision where people aren't judged based on what they are or how they look. We want to create communities without stereotypes, as there were. I ended up joining exactly subscription software as a service model with monthly insight reports, brand ambassadors, and the pricing model will vary depending on the institution size. We also have a marketplace for students, where students are encouraged to grow together as an educational community, where there's tutoring opportunities for classes. For partnerships, we want to partner with local establishments and have profit shares by growing foot traffic to those establishments. We are a diverse and inclusive team that bonded over creating an environment where students aren't afraid to reach out and meet new people. With additional funding, we intend to use that to push our marketing efforts on the ground and to spread our message to the students at the UT community, along with other educational institutions. Thank you. Any questions? Oh, can I have Yunsub and Rick up for a Q&A?
Awesome product. I love how you're breaking down barriers. Can you walk me through a little bit about how you're going to acquire partnerships at those 2,800 universities and the partnerships aspect of this?
Right. So the first, that's the school subscription model so we are pretty much dealing with the challenges that schools are facing, like so school currently facing a lot of diversity inclusion challenges, which we talked with the housing department, and that turned out to be true, very true. And also another thing is that many students in first year
Numbers up there about the dropout rate, and you know, you can even put that before you address your TAM in the whole market. Just put those numbers right up there at the top with your problem.
Absolutely, we'll do so. And this was mainly about diversity inclusion, which we wanted to focus more on that. But absolutely, we'll take that advice and then put it on there for next time. Yes.
Great presentation. So walk me through the organizations. I think I'm missing something. Are you targeting students, or are you targeting organizations, like the student organizations?
Right. So we are target. So this is again one-to-one interaction,
Okay.
the student to student. So we are helping students to create communities, and also we're essentially another alternatives for a student to meet outside of their organization. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and so on this slide you talked about how you were a part of some student organization.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned connecting the organizations with each other. So is that no longer the case then, or?
So for the organization, so for instance, like I'm interested in hiking, but I may not know like the organizations on campus, but if someone is also interested in hiking and then we met, and then they could introduce me to that organization. So it's not really the organization to organization, but it's more of an individual to individual to organization. But I would focus much more on the weight on the individual level, because we're more of an interaction between person to person. Right.
I would simplify the story in that. I left my email address for you. Let's talk about how to simplify that message.
Absolutely.
So that we know the clear connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in terms of further segmenting, sorry, ZB, 1 second. I think it's great, right? Diversity and inclusion is a big problem, but it's also a huge problem. Being in this space myself, I understand that you have to segment a little bit further. So have you thought about your beachhead market yet?
Right. So that will be freshmen. The first year, like when you come in, it's hard. And also the transfer students, they don't have as much resources to reach out to other people. So that will really ignite the sort of first relationship. That will help reduce the barrier of creating that first connection on campus. Mm-hmm.
I like that. Depending on how much time you have to pick, because we always make so many suggestions.
Right.
We're like, Priam, 30 slides into 90 seconds, go. So I understand that might not be fair to you, but I would definitely put that in there somewhere, even if it's just a few words, because that makes a lot more sense to me, and it shows that you've thoroughly thought this out.
Right. Gotcha.
Thanks. Hey, nice job, guys. I think what I'm hearing from you is you want the students to stretch and not to just gravitate to a very comfortable, I guess, organization, if you will, right? So one thing I like is you strip out identity, right? And focus more on the characteristics or preferences of the individual student. Now, Blendor out of California does that. So one question is, how are you going to strengthen your differentiation from things that are out there? And then the other thing I wanted to ask was, this is a mobile application, and there are a whole bunch of mobile applications out there, right? So how are you going to capture your users' attention since there are so many things, pulling on their attention?
Right. So I think it also kind of ties back to the initial target market. We're only focused on UT, and this is only for UT students. And the biggest thing about meeting stranger is that it's afraid. There's a lot of tools out there, like apps out there, but you essentially can meet just someone really weird on outside of your comfort zone. But this really limits us people down to UT, student alone. And that gives people a sense of security. Okay, I feel more comfortable meeting my other student friends versus other people in Austin, right? And that really differentiates. And we check their student verification status through the utexas.edu. So that makes people to meet up more, enforce or give people the opportunity to meet up more.
This also ties in with their software as a service model, because we've talked to faculty and UT institutional leadership, and they focused a lot on security. And the best way we can guarantee that is by making sure that the students are meeting with other students.
Really good work, guys. I think you're solving a real problem that we haven't talked about as a society in terms of the university space. In terms of your competitive analysis, right, what else have you looked at in terms of, I think to follow up on Zubi's question, what prevents somebody else from building this capability, right? So, Facebook and other social media platforms, as well as other kind of social platforms for meeting people. I have a hard time believing that they couldn't go build this faster. And trust me, you've got a great idea. How are you going to lock it in?
So that's where you gotta think about the dating apps. So they're one of our main competitors, but they made an entire empire around outlooks, how people looks. And this is completely opposite of it, which makes them really not wanting to enter. Like, why would they enter it? They already have their created their establishment. So now we have a window of time to grow this bigger. So within that window of time, we have to really lock the user. But how we have our matching algorithm that's going to be over time strengthened, right? The time availability. It may not be the only time availability, but the physical proximity when it comes to physically meeting up, that might be more important, the location. And also the interest, and also natural habits. Where do they usually like to meet up? What's their psychology when they're trying to meet up? So all of this informations are something that's going to give us a competitive edge when it's time for those Goliath notice that, oh, there's another disruptive technology coming up, but they already have established market in the UT, and they know what they're doing. So it will make them hard to really enter the market.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, judges.
Next up, we have Play Nice, Mindy from Play Nice.
Hello? Testing. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Hi everyone, my name's Mindy, and I'm here to present Play Nice.
At the core, Play Nice is basically a social media, or not social media, it's a news source and also social community for video game news and also game developers. So to begin with, let's talk about diversity in digital spaces. So basically, have you ever walked into a room and felt like no one else was like you? Some of y'all have probably felt this more than others, more often than others, but I'm pretty sure everyone can think of a scenario where this has happened. So the big thing is you wonder if you belong. Even if it's a space that you think you do belong to, you end up seeing everyone around you and wondering if you actually do belong. You are often also scared to speak on that from your own perspective, mainly because you don't know if this audience will even care or if anyone would sympathize with what you are saying. It's also very hard and frustrating because you feel like you belong and yet it's a space that doesn't seem like it is there for you. So just a personal example for me, within UT Computer Science Department, there's a 25% enrollment rate for females. So you walk into a classroom and you love computer science, you love programming, but there's no one there that's quite like you. And also, if you're interested in game development, if you Google the famous game developers, it is all men except our girl over there, Roberta Williams. She made games in the 80s. She pioneered basically graphical games, the idea that games should have graphics in them, which is super awesome. But yeah, if you're a game developer and you look up something like this, yeah, you wonder if I should become a game developer in the first place because no one is like me. So I want to bring up the importance of discourse in this case. So within video games and game development, people love talking. It's a very collaborative field. It's interactive. So it really matters who is taking on this discussion, what people are talking about, what the games are, what they say about these games is basically dictated by who is the person speaking. So sources of discourse are increasingly digital in our world. So online, people look at news sources, there's social media, you may see things like that. And of course, there's in person. But usually you're not going to be getting a lot of your news from people in person. You will talk about the things that come from these digital sources, typically, that basically dissipate this information. And a thing about discourse in a community you care about and on a topic you care about is wondering if you're seeing perspectives that you care about and can also sympathize with. So if people are talking about shooters all the time, FPS is in the gaming community, and you don't really play those kinds of games, you might wonder, well, where's the people that talk about the games that I do care about? And another thing is, do you feel comfortable participating? So that comes back to my first point about the community that you see around you. So if no one is like you, you may feel like you don't have a say, that you don't belong and have a perspective that other people would care about if you were to contribute. And once again, back to, yeah, do you belong? So I want to bring up a couple websites that are really popular for video game use. So there's Kotaku and Polygon, and these are from their mastheads talking about their goals as a website. So for Kotaku, it's a news and opinion site about games and things serious gamers care about. For Polygon, it's here in Polygon, you'll find a vibrant community of gamers, enthusiasts, and smart, knowledgeable people. So what does a gamer mean? Gamer, you've probably heard this term if you enjoy video games or keep up with news at all. So gaming communities are for gamers, people that are passionate about games. Gaming news are also for gamers because we've seen the topics from the top news websites. So what is a gamer? It's kind of an ambiguous phrase, but typically the thought is a gamer is someone that's competitive about games, and it's someone that's passionate about games. So what if you are a woman in video games? So suddenly there's actually new terminology that comes up. You're not just a gamer or a person that plays video games, you are a girl gamer. So if you've seen this phrase, it also means that you basically are not just a gamer. So like, imagine someone called you a girl basketball player or a girl doctor, right? There's some different connotations with that. People get called e-girls, which are demeaning phrases saying that you're an attention seeker if you play video games. Or you're a casual, so you don't play the right games. You don't play the games that are serious. And if you don't want these labels, you have to make sure you play these games. You have to make sure that you play it this way, and you have to make sure that you're like this rank if you're competitive. So I want to say that you do belong in the video game community if you are a woman, and you do not need to think that like just because no one there is like you, that people that there aren't like you, that you don't belong. And the way that we do this is with a really simple idea. This is my idea for a video game news and community website. It's called Play Nice. And basically, it's a really, really simple idea. It's just video game news, except it's from the perspective of women. So the writers are primarily women, and the audience is for people that are accepting of this perspective of non-traditional, basically people that are all usually involved in the community. This is just a quick mock-up of what the website looks like. It's just a very simple news website, nothing special, but the really, really big thing about it is that changing the perspective of people reading it comes from the fact that the authors are from women writers. So the main part is the Play Nice News section of it. So basically the goals is that it's just an audience for people in general who are interested in video game news and being a part of that community to just come on and read anything about news in general. And you should feel connected and involved by reading this website, and for people that love games. And just good writing, like any news website should have. So the reason behind this is that when you just change who's talking, you feel a great sense of relief, right? Just hearing from people that care about things that you care about is going to make a huge difference just by hearing it from a different perspective. And also, if you're an audience, you feel safe and free to be yourself reading as well, because you know that it's coming from people that understand your perspective that usually isn't seen in the community. You don't have to cater to the traditionally gamer audience or fear of being labeled for something else. So yeah, this is a repeat of the slide. So just example topics are just general game topics too, that are typically in video game news websites. In addition, there's also specialized topics just by nature of being from writers that care about inclusivity and their unique perspectives. You get different kinds of articles that pop up as well. So, and you also have an editorial section. So rather than the unbiased news, there's also sections for talking about opinions. There's also fun topics. Maybe you have poetry, letters, Q&A sessions. This is just a typical editorial section too, for people from staff writers, but also from reader submissions and additional contributors to just talk about things that is unique to this audience.
We're gonna have to stop there.
Oh.
If anybody has any questions,
Yeah, I can expand on anything else
maybe
too.
hitting the forward button on your slides if you like. But
Yeah.
I'd like to open up the floor to questions.
Great job, Mindy, right?
Yes.
Okay, great job. Thank you for putting this together. Okay, question. Just Q&A, or are we allowed to give feedback as well?
We would prefer just Q&A, and give feedback afterwards, but you can do
Okay.
both if you would like.
We'll discuss feedback then later, but can you get into the size of the market?
Yeah, so basically people that care about video games, it's basically they also keep up with the news typically because it's a big passion and hobby for people. So the market is basically supposed to be just people that care about news in general and would keep up with news for video games.
The reason I was asking is because I think this is an interesting area that could be explored more just in the media space especially, but then if you combine that with gaming, I was interested to see the size of the market. I'm so excited to hear what else was going on in the rest of your pitch. So I'd love to see what was happening there. I think to help you get to the end of the pitch, I would take out, there are several slides in the beginning, for example, discussing discourse and kind of repeating the same message but on different slides. I think you could probably condense that a little bit and get into what Play Nice does much sooner. So maybe it's, I haven't been seen, et cetera, UT of 25%, female enrollees. Side note, I would also pick one, either female or women, because you use both, so be consistent throughout. But have that slide and then go into defining, the woman gamer, then get into what Play Nice does. I think that would be a really good story to go through. Anything else? Just meet me afterwards. I have some notes. Last thing I'll say is, you said that Play Nice was nothing special.
Oh.
Don't do that ever again.
Gotcha.
And I'm just saying that because you're entering into a male-dominated space already, right? And I do this all the time just in terms of entering male-dominated spaces, right? The last thing you want to do is give them, or anyone, further reason to discredit you. So if you say it's nothing special, I'm like, well then, what am I doing, right? So this is special. This is honestly very, very special, and I'm excited to see where this goes. So don't do us all a disservice by discrediting yourself, because we want to see you succeed.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I heard that, and I was also gonna say that. I think I love your inspiration, right? In terms of when you walk into a room and you're the only one like yourself. I experience that a lot myself. Now, I wanted to hear some numbers, right? And also your familiarity with the market. Play VS has raised something like 96 million over 18 months to build a league for esports for high schools, exclusive. They've gained that market, right? So why don't you to just kind of share, like, when you talk about the people you're going after, what numbers that the gamers that are not men, right? The female gamers or the girl gamers. What number is that? How is that number expected to grow? What's the annual growth rate? And also, what are some ways that you're going to attract them? Because I believe this is kind of new, and you're just kind of breaking into this, right? There aren't a lot of play nice websites out there. Is that right? So what are some of the numbers? What's the number today, and how is it expected to grow? And what are you going to do to get to attract your users?
What? Oh, okay, I will. Well, I'm curious about, like, because you're going content and you're kind of doing you have your destination with your website, which is just totally fine. I wanted to know or see what your kind of marketing social strategy is to grow that, because again, I'm not a college student, but it feels like you're going to be targeting at least some of your contemporaries, at least in this university. So where is that entry and growth strategy on this or in your head? And if you want to speak to that, please do. But like the approach of building a website, to me, okay, makes sense. You're straight. You're in your mission, great, all that, totally down with it, and why and what the need of. But then I go, all right, so how is she going to grow? It's kind of going to direct that audience into this, and what that strategy, what that messaging is, and how that's going to work. So speak to that, or
Sure.
add to your slides later. I don't know, up to you.
So the goal vision is essentially that it's going to be a general news website for everyone. But I think the stepping stones to get there will definitely start with student writers and also targeting student game development communities and video game communities as well. So that's a bit easier to get into just because it is a connected network within a university itself. The organizations are always interconnected and talking, so it's easy to reach out to students. From there, it's also easy to reach out to other universities that have video game programs. For example, Longhorn Gaming has connections to textbook chapters too around places. EGAD sometimes talks to other the game development community here at UT talks to other game development communities at other universities as well. So that interconnectedness helps spread through student organizations very quickly. And from there, by being nature of social media too, I think it's easy to expand because you share through social media like Facebook, Twitter, etc. You see these news articles, they point to these news websites. So when you read a news article that's being spread, for example, you are directed to that site. And also there'll also be advertising like you talked about probably on Twitch, advertising this news website too. That's definitely super targeted content, and because it's such a general news website for video games and development, it would be a way to expand.
Do you have a prototype of how you envision the news website looking, and what are some of your engagement metrics you're going to be utilizing in terms of how you're engaging with your audience? And is it going to be driven more through video content? I know you said the writers, but walk me through your vision for what the prototype of the website.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, the big part of it is that it's a very clean UI, very modern UI. If you look at news websites for Kotaku or Polygon, they kind of have a similar format of a lot of white space. So just similar kind of UX that's very modern and up to date. From there, also the content of the website I think you asked about was mainly, so the content for the news website is news articles. I gave some examples from previous slides. I didn't get to get through all of these, but there's sections. So one is the news website. That's pretty straightforward in terms of the feed. The editorial site or the editorial section has more opinion pieces and more miscellaneous content that's just interesting and more opinionated as well. I also included, this part didn't get in either, but the idea is it's video game news and video game development news. So there's a section too for indie game developers to have a mini blog of sorts to talk about their basically their content and their development progress as well. So just the basic structure of the content is general news, opinions, and then also additional content of the development cycle, because like indie game developers don't have like a very like centralized place to give their news. And the last part is a forum. A lot of online communities have a forum where users that are interested in the content can talk to each other, and the community really builds up that way because the users are like really passionate about that website if they're on this forum, and it helps like increase that amount of discourse as well. So that's kind of the main vision, is that by nature of being a content news and also development, it builds up a community as well as being like a reputable source for getting up-to-date information.
That's all the time we have for this presentation. If you'd like to, from now on, I'm going to be a little bit more stringent on the time. If you'd like to ask any of the presenters questions after the fact, we do have some time if you'd like to ask them afterwards. Thank you. If I can have Cloud Canards come up. Thank you.
Can you hold it again? Sorry.
Hello everyone, mic testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, my name is Gawon and I'm the lead developer of our video game Cloud Canards, a story-driven platformer where you chase rumors. In our game we can run, jump, grapple, talk to people, swing a sword, make a meme, basic stuff, you know. But what's unique about our game is our world and our lore. A long time ago, the world shattered into a series of floating islands, and the remaining survivors had to deal with these scary creatures called wraiths. And to escape from these wraiths, they formed themselves a safe haven in one of the regions of the world. And today, this region became known as the city of Nebulia. Nebulia is, since it's the only safe haven in the world, it became very overpopulated. The bottom slums were filled to the brim with tiny houses, while the top districts featured their pricey lands. Like New York City, Nebulia has basically become a melting pot for all the cultures and peoples in the world. You could see bazaars and marketplaces selling thousands of different trinkets to thousands of different individuals. To ensure the protection of Nebulia, the government has enlisted the help of guilds to protect the city and to police the city. One of these guilds is called the Twilight Marauders, which is formed from a bunch of ragtag group of individuals, including our main character, Yana, who wears a remarkable amount of blue. Throughout her journey, Yana she meets a lot of different competing individuals and other guilds. And her end goal is to beat them all and to top the EXP leaderboards, where the toughest and the quirkiest make their names known across all corners of Nebulia. Now, I want to stop here. I want to pause here to focus on the fact that video games are a unique medium. They offer a completely special and completely personal story for every individual. It's like a tailor-made storybook just for you. And note that I didn't tell a single story so far. I only shared our world. The fact that the base, basically our lore serves as the base foundation for you to build your own story on top of, to you to write Yana's next chapter. Cloud Canards enables you to empower diversity and to bring it into your own story just by presenting the lore and having it present around everyone, everywhere. Through our gameplay, we encourage the player to visit every part of our world, going to the foreground or the background or anywhere in between. Everywhere visible is traversable. Furthermore, you can grapple yourself towards an enemy and then slash them with your sword. You can balance and make your own combos by creating links between grappling mechanics and sword swings. Today, more and more indie games are establishing powerful messages through their gameplay. And these games they were so popular that they were able to reach millions of the audiences and provide a powerful message to them. And we want to tell a similar story with our game, Cloud Canards. To do this, we decided to go with the recently resurging market of the Metroidvania genre, where the skills you learn allow you to organically access new parts of the world. Metroidvania games like these two opened up this once niche market to the masses, and industry figures show that even the obscure titles were able to make a huge amount of fan base. If you're able to sell 50,000 copies with $10 each, then we can expect to see $500,000 in revenue. Now, the ideas of a wily girl who wanted to soar through the clouds has been around since 2017, and I'm excited to say that what started out as a casual idea has now been realized. And we believe that through our team of 7 individuals, we believe that we can easily finish this. Nathan here is not a dog, but he wasn't able to make it to pictures. Through the tale of Cloud Canards, we hope to empower people to exemplify diversity in their story, in the story that they make on their own. Every individual has a unique story to tell, and diversity is what makes us stronger. Regardless of whether you're a reckless warrior or a cautious strategist, regardless of your race, wealth, gender, or beliefs, and even regardless of your unnaturally blue hair color, anyone can be a Twilight Marauder. Thank you for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is this on? Oh, yeah. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Funny. Where, I don't think you mentioned this, but where did you draw the inspiration for this? Like, what clued you in? What got you started? You and your team.
So we started 2 years ago when a group of my friends and I joined up together to see if we can come up with a video game that we can make. And over the course of years, we decided to go with a comedic story where everyone can be a focus, and how the world works basically is influenced by your actions that you make.
That was awesome. Thank you. So is all your team, y'all are all undergrads here?
Other than one person, all 6 of us are undergrads in this school. And each of us had a different set of majors. Say, Rahul is a biochemistry major, while we have many other AEP students, and I myself is a computer science major.
Great. So walk me back through your milestones and your timeline. How far are y'all in terms of production? Where are you in your timeline right now? And how much do you expect? I know you gave us a numbers slide, which is awesome. Thank you for showing us the addressable market. I can give you feedback on how to show that a little differently in your deck, but how much do you expect to sell the game for? What's your initial go-to-market strategy in getting the megaphone out about the game across campus, at least first, and then expanding?
So initially, what we have so far is just most of the core mechanics established without any of the story present in the demo. We actually had chance to show off our game in multiple public conventions, and we were able to gain human feedback that it's really just fun to go through the world. And for our target market, we are going to initially price our game at $5 because we will divide up our development into multiple chunks. So there is a recent problem in the video game industry, in the development industry, that more and more people are getting into crunch hours because there's this one giant deadline that everyone has to meet. And to do that, just your higher-ups are just ordering you to work and work, and just to meet that one deadline, you have to just work overtime. So instead of doing that, we decided to go for it in a completely unique way, in a way where we divided up into weekly episodes so that you can just easily enjoy bite-sized chunks while we develop bite-sized chunks as well.
Tell us that.
Yep.
That's cool. What a great value prop. Also, are you developing this in the CS labs here, or are y'all developing this off campus?
So far, it's been a side project outside of campus, and we intend to stay that way.
Okay, great. I always think about, I don't know Vance here from Tech Transfer Office, but I always think about protection, IP protection.
Just one more question. Thank you.
Okay. That was so good. So I'm going to give a feedback and then a question, then I'll stop talking. I love that you got to the point. That was fantastic. I really like the way that you jumped into the pitch. That was very strong. That you immediately told us why you were different. And I love that. I truly feel energized by that. So thank you for doing that. My question is, how does this, you mentioned that this is going to help promote diversity within the game and the mindset of the users. Can you explain that a little bit more? I didn't quite understand that part. Like how do you do that?
So first, we present a world where diversity is the norm. It's like if you visit some place and you expect to see some specific stereotypes, that cannot happen in this world because as part of the massive shattering of the world, it's just impossible to find people who are just sticking to special cases of special cases, I guess. There can be some negative remarks about diversity. As ours merged together, there might be some racist others to just handle those issues in the positive way possible. So the story you tell is basically Hello?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Bridge VR, the most innovative new way we can promote diversity in the digital space. So before we get to the solution, we did a little bit of initial market research. We went around UT and asked students what they thought of diversity.
Maybe she was or he was a young white journalist, young white photographer, and they felt more comfortable approaching people from their same ethnicity. I mean, it could be anything, but it's just lack of awareness.
We need diversity in opinion, not just for decision making now, but also to drive how our future generations are going to be.
For me, diversity isn't really something that's like added on to your life, it's always there. So it's really, really important to open up your mind to everyone around you and not really close yourself up in your own little bubble.
So diversity is really important because it keeps people in mind and not leaving anybody out and making sure that every voice gets listened to and communities can find a stronger sense of self and as well as just like being well connected to everybody else.
So through our interviews, we were able to confirm that diversity is an issue in our student marketplace and that it is top of mind for these students. So next we had to identify kind of a market. So we looked at the e-learning market. By 2025, e-learning software is projected to be a $300 billion market. Schools are looking to invest in technologies that equip their students to work in a high-tech environment. And as students, we have a unique perspective on what a good e-learning software looks like. So, I want to introduce you to Bridge VR. Bridge VR is a virtual reality software each other. So you have a bio and learn more about the person that they've been working with to complete this challenge. So you identified 5 separate levels. So you start off at level 1, which is building a basic bridge, and then you move on to different hazards, wildfires, floods, earthquakes, all sorts of civil engineering challenges that you have to work with your teammate to successfully complete. So our solution is built on 3 main pillars. 1, it's creative. It forces students to think. Students are working shared in a real-time environment, working on solving problems together. And third is comprehensive. In addition to the civil engineering challenge that we just saw, there's going to be language and art challenges as well. So a student in rainy Seattle can work with a student in rainy London and create an art piece that both of them are proud of. So we did a little bit of market research as well, and we identified a unique niche in the marketplace. So on one side, you have companies that allow you to interact with other cultures, like Facebook or VR chat. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have companies that help you hire diverse talent working of people from different socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds. So why virtual reality? Virtual reality is one of the fastest growing marketplaces in US and around the world. It's a $6.2 billion marketplace currently, and we feel like we are poised at a perfect timing to take advantage of this rapidly growing industry. So what does our impact look like? Right now, we're focused on students. But these same students are going to graduate, and they're going to go into that have the experience working in these multicultural teams that are going to be valuable to their managers and to their companies. And those are the students that are going to succeed as employees. What about creative and RTF students? They're going to be more comfortable working with diverse cast and crew. And this translates down into more representation in the media. There's a lot. And when you're working with other people from different cultures, there's less tolerance for microaggressions. When you're working with people from different cultures, you're more inclined to meet them. And you want to travel and go to different places. Study abroad experience for students who can't afford to study abroad. Through all of these shared experiences, students will be able to build a bridge for the future. So our development process is broken down into 3 phases. The first is a test and learn phase. So this is working with students and teachers. Some teachers which we read back of our product and would be happy to implement it in their classrooms. Next is a university-wide rollout. So that's working at the Digital Diversity Lab here at UT Austin, which is hosted by Aaron Riley. That lab was actually open today for you guys to go check out and see some of the schools around the US. So this software can technologies for groups to work with, showing your employees how to work with multicultural, diverse environment that doesn't fray any hairs. So, this is our very multicultural, diverse team, and I want to invite 2 of them up to help with the Q&A portion. And so what they're giving you right now is bridges. So a little. So it's actually interesting because the bridge that you're able to build in the virtual reality print. So this could actually be, yeah, feel free to trade amongst each other, but yeah.
An important problem that we face not only in education but as well as in the corporate marketplace. Do you have an idea of where this goes beyond this particular type of game? Like, how would you go target this, for example, for RTF?
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so let me rephrase your question to make sure I understood it. So your question is, how do we make sure that RTF students take part of the, or like, can we like expand, for example?
Sure.
Like
So broadly speaking, I have an engineering background, so I totally
Yeah.
get this, right? Go build a bridge collaboratively around the world. But what does this mean beyond engineering and other disciplines or other industries where you could use this type of model, right?
Yeah.
What are some examples you might
Yeah.
have of that?
So we can totally like have. We were thinking about like a canvas that would travel around the world, and where everybody from each country could like draw a piece of art, and it would be like a collaborative piece of art throughout the world. So with very different like art influences from everywhere in the world, and that can also be, as we said, like a novel that people could create. But the reason why we chose bridges is that we think it goes beyond engineering. For example, so I'm from France. I'm an exchange student from France. And when we were like designing the levels, we were like, okay, no, but how do we want the platforms to look like? And we're like, both of us were drawing a bridge on a different part, and I drew bridges like this, and he drew a bridge like the Golden Gate Bridge. And we're like, wait, we have such a different idea of what a bridge is. So, and none of us are engineers, but we thought like the bridge was really symbolic of the differences to see, the difference of seeing things.
And furthermore with that, it isn't just quite so engineering. The way it'll be sort of built is more as a puzzle game. So you don't have to be in STEM to do puzzles together.
So, quick piece of feedback. Honestly, you did a great job. You stuck every landing for those video transitions like Simone Biles, and I'm very impressed with that.
Appreciate it.
You did a really good job not even looking at it, so well done. I'm happy it went well today, but I've also seen people with videos that weren't playing or just so have a backup just in case you don't have the same video connection as you do here. Just worst case scenario, because I've seen it happen and it hurts to watch.
That's why we came in early to make sure, because I wasn't taking any
Smart,
chances. Yeah.
Smart. What is your use of funds, though? Let's say you win. What are you going to use the money for?
Yeah, so first of all, the money's going to be used for that test and learn phase, which is that first the test animation that we were able to create in the past few weeks. So it's creating the actual graphical user interface, and it's doing user testing with actual users. It's creating that collaborative environment, so it's identifying the software that's needed to make sure that they work real time together. So it's all those different technology plugins. So it's all those different costs that go together with that, and that's going to be our next step in the development process.
I don't know if you touched on this, great presentation by the way, but any idea on what the final cost will be for your solution?
Do you mean this in a sort of like per copy or like our budget for creating this? Cost to the user.
Yeah. Or I can take it. Okay. Yeah. So cost. So this is going to be like set like for universities, right? So universities are going to license this on a per semester basis. So it's going to be $99 per semester per school. So it's going to be $200 a year. So the cost of development that we initially drew out was like $50,000. That's like an all-in like end-to-end budget. So that's hitting. So if we're looking at $99 a semester, $200 a year, it's going to be like 250 schools in the first years for that break-even cost, which we feel because our marketplace is not just in the United States, it's a global market. So we feel like the business opportunity is there. And $99 is not a big financial investment for a university, especially when our clients are going to be universities. So we're specifically not marketing this towards the everyday average Joe. It's going to be for universities, for their students to use, supervised by a teacher, working with other teachers. So it's very niche. We have a very specific user, basically.
And 50,000 is like our top maximum estimation, because all of the features we will develop will come from the test and learn process, because the test and learn process will learn, okay, that feature is not usable. That feature will be needed, and that will give us a much more precise breakdown of the cost of the development of the game.
That's about all the time we have for this presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Last up, we have Jake with Roots.
not from that. I mean, you know, that'd be like a cool new thing. Let's see, is it on? Oh, it is. Awesome. Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Jake. I'm here presenting Roots, the interactive podcasting platform. Where did the clicker go? There it is. And as you see, there's a little number on the top right. That's a join code for a website called Slido. So if you want to open up your phones and go to slido.com, like the nature of our platform, this presentation itself will also be interactive, and you'll dictate in what order you see things. So you can just go there on your phone, whoever would like to, and we'll get started. Oh, SLIDO.com. I don't know why I wanted to spell .com, but that was just my energy. So, not Slido, Roots is, our mission is to create and experience interactive podcasts together. There's a lot there. We'll unpack it as the presentation unfolds. But first, why me? Why am I standing up here in my kitschy dog shirt presenting to y'all? It's because of them. So that's Carlos and Cecil from the podcast Welcome to Night Vale. Throughout the podcast, Cecil develops a romantic relationship with Carlos, starts with little crushes, and they go on a date, and then eventually they get married. And I listened to this in high school, and at the time I was really deep in the closet. I didn't have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like self-acceptance in that regard, and hearing him gush over Carlos and his perfect hair, and their relationship grow from that was really impactful in me believing and accepting in myself and seeing a future as a gay person. And I think that's why, as many of you know, diversity and inclusion matters, is because you can build that connection with people. And I think podcasting was really helpful for me doing that because it had that intimacy with the user. It was like Cecil was standing right here talking to me about Carlos and all the things you're excited to do together. And what the medium allows for is a breadth of content, since it really only takes like a computer and an idea to make one. And it allows for a lot of people with completely different backgrounds from each other to start making one and build that for themselves. And they are an emerging market. So this past year, 50% of Americans had listened to a podcast at some point. And they brought in 500 million in revenue with projected 1 billion for the whole industry by 2023. And so why I'm adding interactivity to it is because instead of hearing those things, you can live through other people's experiences. You can see what someone goes through on a day-to-day basis and connect with their identity and their experiences and see their challenges for an increased sense of empathy for someone different from you, and an increased sense of connection to a story that you identify with. And as an example of an interactive podcast, we're going to be doing one in this presentation. So if you have that poll up, we can pick what we want to do first. So I was going to go over collaboration, which is working together on this with other people, creation, what it would look like for someone to create one of these end-to-end, the experience of viewing one, since this is an all-in-one platform of both creation and viewing, and then empowering different voices to be heard through this platform. And I'll just wait for a little bit, see what people want. Experience, collaborate, give it like, this is a tight time bound, like 10 more seconds. Okay, so experience first, and then, Okay, let's press it one time. Experience, then collaborate, then create, then empower. Cool. So for experience, so let's say I'm Michael, I'm a dad, I want to connect with my daughter over winter break, and I find out that she's really into the Untitled Goose Game, and they just released this new podcast. And so we boot it up together, and we start making choices. And then I was going to do this, but we're kind of short for time. And you have the collection of the podcasts you like, so you save new ones. Michael would save it to find new ones to go with his daughter. And then they would both get recommendations for new ones to complete on their own. And they would see who chooses what in the choices of the branching narrative. And then they would also be able to see like which of their friends would pick specific choices as they progress through it, if they're connected to like social networks. And then I'm actually going to skip that for now. And it's centered around accessibility as well. So the choices will be allowed as voice responses by default, as well as we'll provide transcription services for the audio components of it to allow anyone to experience this type of content. And it's cross-platform, so you can use it wherever. There's a key focus on smart speakers, since that's an underutilized market for podcasting. And then for the next one, I believe that was okay. Let's just do create. So create. So I'm Hannah. I'm working at House now, and I'm making the Untitled Goose podcast. And so you'd start with the story leaf. You'd write the content. You'd record it with an actor or whoever. You could add visuals in as extra things, and then you create branches from that to cause decisions. And then you would just iterate on this process. I'm gonna skip this for now too. Yeah, that's a good one. And so when we launch the platform, we're planning on launching it with a set of stories that basically embody our message of diversity and inclusion from different backgrounds of the story. And in addition to featuring these kinds of stories, we're also going to highlight the creator's own background to empower people to create that are similar or resonate with them. And as an example, I had my friend Ashley, who is a writer here, like an RTF student, write one of these. And I'm gonna skip through it really quickly, but you can kind of like quickly read it. You're a girl with Down syndrome, you get framed for robbery, you're taken to jail. Well, you're not taken to jail, you're taken to like an asylum type place. And then you're treated poorly, you find a girl, you have a romantic relationship. One day, she decides you should break out, but you don't know if you can trust her. And so you make decisions along this whole storyline. And then, also as it progresses, we're gonna regularly feature new content creators that also embody our message of diversity and inclusion, and then remain there for around a week or as long as we see fit at the time, and partner with the creator like financially. And then, I think we're just gonna go to questions.
Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
I'll go first. Love the, obviously, given what I talked about like 2 hours ago.
I saw that, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I love where you're going. So just some clarification here. So when you started, you're like, all right, you're doing podcast, and it wasn't super clear that you're going platform for a podcast.
Gotcha.
Right? And so I'm just like, he is doing a platform, right? Because that's really hard to do on Apple iTunes currently as is. So that, I think that needs to be really clear with probably a mock-up.
Yeah.
That would just nail it. It would just make it super clear after that.
Okay.
I mean, I guess my question is like, all right, so you create the platform, all your bugs are worked out and all that stuff. So what's your like outreach strategy for this? Like, how do you adopt people to, because the podcast community is like, all right, they're very Apple centric right now.
Yeah.
They go to Apple, 80% of them or something like that goes to Apple to download. So how are you going to convert that to a separate platform? I mean, Spotify is having a hard enough time, and they spent $200 million to get Gimlet, and who knows if that's actually effective yet. I'm just curious to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, so I think one thing would be, since this has kind of roots both in narrative, in game development, and in acting, kind of reaching out to, as an immediate strategy, to reach out to like student orgs and try to get students in classrooms working this kind of stuff. But as like a distribution platform for the content, one thing I couldn't get into was the partnership with things like Twitch or live events, where you could basically, like in the same way that games are promoted, like promote these types of stories on this platform through like crowdsourced decision making. Is that one? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think those are the big ones for like the development and the like user experience.
Big kudos on the accessibility. Thank you very much for that. Touch on your go-to-market strategy, or perhaps some of your monetization things that you thought about.
Yeah, I had this like little bit where I like did a sponsored buy, and then it was like, and it turned out to be Sleep was like the advertiser. But what that would be is it would be like ad-based, and so in the like the little tree diagram that you saw, creators would insert slots for ads, And these would be dynamically inserted based on like the user's interest instead of like baked into podcasts as they often are. This is like an up and coming way that podcasts are monetizing. I think it accounts for like about 40% of the market now. I have a stat like somewhere else, but and they would utilize the interactivity of the platform, so they could also bake in the choices. So it's like, oh, I want to hear more about this, or maybe I'm more interested in this part of whoever's advertising. Like I'm more interested in Fanta than Coke or whatever.
Agree. Props on the transcription services. That's a cool, great value prop to have. Have you already identified a partner in those transcription services? Or how much that cost would be?
Yeah, so I'm an engineer and a developer by trade, and last time I did Hack Texas, maybe it was 2 years ago, which is like a hackathon, we did like a transcription app, and so I think I would just hire on people to do that on board and oversee that. But yeah, I think it would be like a native thing, or we could partner with like the Bing natural language processing API or something similar.
Cool. And I understand the market, huge market, as you said, right? Especially around podcast analytics right now. What I would love to see is the specific total addressable market in terms of, the data behind, because interactivity, well, who are your competitors, one, and then showing me, I've only seen interactivity done through film, obviously, so seeing what that specific market number looks like would be great to have as well, because is this something that people are going to want to?
Yeah, I was trying to look up competitors, and I found like Choose Your Own Adventure did a thing on the Google Home where they had like a bunch of their stories that they re-uploaded onto that platform. But a lot of these types of things kind of parallel like visual novels in like gaming or different like interactive game experiences. I think that would be something parallel to look at. And they're kind of generally distributed on things like just Steam or Epic Store or wherever else games are distributed.
Great job. I love this piece of feedback. I love the Slido interactivity.
Yeah.
But it does distract from the magic that you're sharing of Roots. So I personally would just keep the focus on you and what Roots is doing moving forward, just that you have more time and you don't have to wait for us to like get with it and tell you what we want. Just tell us what we should want, you know?
Yeah.
What would you use the funds for?
Oh, the like the prize fund or just general funds. That's a good question. I guess to probably get more people on the team, because I'm currently a team of one. I submitted it for this competition, so I would probably pull more engineers, more designers, more like narrative writers, and people to work on it and build it out further.
You know what I would do in that case? Because solopreneur as well, former solopreneur, because now I have a team. What I would do, and this actually goes to everybody that has a pitch deck in here, if you have the time, put in a closing slide of asks, right? So if you do need some developers, I'm sure there are people on campus, or maybe we know people that would be willing to, give you some time pro bono or what have you. But let us know what you need help with, so that post-pitch competition, people can come to you to sort of rally around what you're doing, because it's fantastic.
Okay, so it'd be like I need help with marketing because I'm a stinky
this is
CS major.
Roots, it's amazing. If please come speak to me after the pitch if you know someone who can help with development. We're looking to raise a round of X. We are looking to build our advisory board, so experts in the skill set required to get this launched, etc. And we're looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
One last comment. I think this is a brilliant idea, right? I think nobody's doing this type of thing. So you have an edge here in the fact that you're first to market. What I would focus in on is definitely your story, your narrative, your punch, right? You've got that down. Don't let everything else distract you. And then the only other thing I would ask is, how do you envision the platform itself being used as a creative tool? So for example, if I'm an author and I want to write a story, how do you make this the best place for me to go do this, right? I can go get on and record my own podcast. I can go on Medium and write a story, right? But this is, to me, a mashup of both of those things. Make it fun, make it easy, and I think you've got a winning formula. But have you thought through kind of how do you attract people to go do this?
Yeah, I think it does present like a unique storytelling medium. Like you can tell stories on here that you might not be able to tell in other mediums, and similarly you could drive certain points home, like empathy maybe if you're making the decisions yourself. I think those are draws. I tried to I think launching with the different content and kind of showing creators like these are some well-polished examples of like that utilize the medium very well. That would help like aspiring creators know that, okay, this is a cool place. I want to tell this kind of story.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
If we can, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Judges, if you would like about 10, 15 minutes, just converse and figure out how, if you want to ask any of the finalists any more questions, feel free to do so. And Aaron is doing, we happen to have some small prize packs from Epic Games that they donated to us. So Aaron will be running a little pop quiz with the Catchbox mic. And if you answer any of those questions correctly, you can get a little merch box from Epic, which I will go pull out now.
You guys are good. If you guys need to converse, maybe go that way. From this way. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. I'll throw this from the stage. Does that sound good? Okay, you guys. Yeah? We don't want anyone to walk away without having some prize, right? So you got to know a little bit about these questions. I've got 5. Actually, right now I've got 4 bags to give away. Okay. And if you stay to the end of the day, I even have more prizes to give away. So here's the first question. Who won the Best Games for Impact Award in 2018 at the Game Awards? Any?
The game involves a girl climbing a mountain.
Oh, there you go. You gonna catch it? Am I gonna? Oh! Or I'm not gonna throw it very well.
Is it Celeste?
Win! Score. You got the prizes? Okay. You want me to throw that again? You can throw it to the next person. I throw like an old woman. I wasn't gonna say girl, old woman. What is the new app by Samsung called that helps allow the deafblind to send and receive messages? No? Yes! Ding, 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 ding!
Like, are we gonna? I think the mic's a little.
What? I think the mic is fun.
I think the mic is fun, but I think it's.
You need to throw it around. I'm totally throwing this box next person who is here. Okay, you guys ready? Who are the LGBTQ plus characters in Overwatch?
I'm pretty sure it. Oh dear. Tracer, Soldier 76, and I believe Zarya.
That's correct.
Zarya, but the other two. I don't think Zarya is.
I don't think Zarya is it though. It's Tracer and Soldier 76, but you had 2.
It's not canon, but it's
Yeah.
like theorized. Yeah.
You had the 2 that I have on here though, and then you added a 3rd, so I gave it to you. I'm like, I don't know if there's a 3rd. Okay, you ready? Here's the last one. This is more difficult. And you get the same prize. I don't know. Name the actress who is the first Latinx superhero lead cast in a Marvel movie. It's this year, too. And which movie is it? Or it's coming out. I don't think it's out yet. Nope. Oh.
Is it Selma Hayek?
Yes. What's the name of the character?
I don't care. It's Selma Hayek.
What's the name of the movie?
I don't don't care about that either.
Alicia?
No, you can't talk.
Is it, whoa, is it like Ajax or something from the
Yeah.
Eternals?
Yes! Alicia wins.
Yes. Oh, this is so cool.
Good job. Okay.
Oh.
Do we have another prize? Because I've got another question.
Yeah, I can go.
Grab another prize. We'll do one more. Or no, just grab one of those, like bags or something. You guys want another question? Grab one of those prizes. Is that for second, third? Grab the check. Grab the check. You guys want another question? Even just for fun? Okay. Yeah, give out one more bag. Huh? Oh yeah, Unreal t-shirt. You guys want an Unreal t-shirt? Oh, there we go. There we go. We'll do one more, and then I'll ask for a few feedback. So here we go. Y'all, anyone that's part of Moody College should know this one because this is important for us. Because he was here last month. What was the first Korean movie to win a Palme d'Or? Yeah, this year.
Parasite.
Correct.
Oh! Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, that's right. And he was here.
Yeah, Ben is right here.
He was
Ben
here
is
at
right
Moody
here.
College just this past month. So that's great. Okay, so I've got so far.
Like it's auditory.
Chad
And,
Allen's Unseen.
Yes, I loved it. Like I thought it was so interesting, and you like really like formulate like the comic. Badass, and like I got to learn, like I got to talk to him a lot, and then learn a lot about how like his like spatial awareness and kind of how like everyone subconsciously like can feel like sizes of room or like textures and everything, and it's not all about just like. I mean, like just the visual, like there's a lot of other like senses that we do subconsciously. So it was really interesting to talk to him about it.
Very cool. And what's your name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Stephanie gets a t-shirt. That's awesome. How many of you have gone over to the demo Unseen? No? Oh man, you guys gotta go. You gotta go check this out. There's other demos as well. Dell is doing Audica. Who's a Beat Saber fan? Right? This is better. Did you like that? Okay. Shall we bring them? Oh, should we do one more question? And see if they're. Okay, I've got one more shirt. It's a PJ shirt, people. Okay. Huh? Yeah, I don't think you're fat though. So let me ask you. Oh, my son is competing.